everyone. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Couch Squad podcast. Trying to shorten the name since I butchered it last episode. So we hope you've all been well since our last airing, which was a couple of weeks ago. I'm joined today by my co-hosts. We have Epic and Whippy. How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, not bad, mate.
We are one short tonight. We are missing Mr. Damo. He is on daddy duty tonight. So we wish him well on a daddy duty, but he is here with us in spirit. Having said that, we are very pleased to welcome our very first guest to the podcast for the Couch Squad, which is Mr. DJBluepdx himself. How are you, mate?
Hello, everyone. Good to be here. Thank you. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here on the west coast of the US, and yeah, I am definitely exhausted.
Yeah, so DJ is from the States, and we're very happy to have him on here. It is 2 a.m. in the morning for us, so we're very keen to have a catch up with him about all things Halo. You're gonna get to hear a lot about DJ and what he's done for the Halo community, so we can't wait to dive into that. Just a couple of reminders for you guys, for those that are listening through on the audio platforms or watching the VOD version of this later. We do live stream this over on Twitch at twitch.tv/CouchSquadPodcast. Just in case you hear us interacting with the chat or answering any of their questions during the episode. So you are more than welcome to catch that live. Keep an eye on our socials to see the airing date. But if you are listening to us through the audio platforms, welcome. We hope you have been well. It's been a busy, crazy few weeks of Game Pass. It's been absolutely nuts. So with that in mind, what have you guys been playing the last few weeks? You want to kick us off, Epic?
Flight Simulator was the first one. We had a bit of a frolic with that, didn't we? In our own planes.
Yes.
And yeah, that was incredibly fun. And also the Ascent. And I had a frolic with Omno, and also another game just on Xbox, which is at Death Store, which is very hard, which I didn't think it was going to be that hard, but it is. But yeah, it's been very busy. Very busy.
We kind of knew that, didn't we? Well, after the last episode, with how many games we had to cover. What about yourself, Whippy? What have you been diving into last few weeks?
I've been playing a bit of Flight Simulator, which I've been loving. It's just absolutely visually stunning to play. I cannot fly planes for absolute shit, I have learnt, but anyway. And I've been playing a bit of UFC 4, which is on Game Pass, and Limbo, which I've been loving too. So
Limbo. We'll have to get you to do a review of that one at some point.
Definitely will. It was definitely a game I didn't think I was going to enjoy, and I'm really enjoying it. So.
And Mr. DJ, what have you been playing these last few weeks, mate? I know you have a busy schedule, but
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Halo, mostly Griffball. We've been doing a lot with Insula, Boundarua. We just finished the first stage of our closed alpha on the 30th. I'm sorry, on the 1st. We were doing it in tandem with DreamHack Beyond. That happened. It's their first summer digital gaming festival. Prior to that, it's been Rainbow Six Siege, some of the Mass Effect series, and just kind of relaxing with whatever I want to at the time. So yeah, but there I did get really into the shooty side of MCC, Master Chief Collection, specifically a lot with Halo 4. I kind of fell back in love with that game again.
Yeah, and we're going to hear a lot about Insula during this episode. I know it's not part of Game Pass, but it's something that you're involved in, so we want to hear all about that one. So we're going to looking forward to getting into that one. Now, for those that do follow the socials, you will already know this, but if you're listening for the first time, thanks to Xbox A and Z, we do have a giveaway going on. Epic, you want to tell us all about that one?
Jump over to Twitter and tag a friend to win 3-month Game Pass Ultimate there, and retweet it.
Yeah, so that will be done for those watching the live version. That'll be done at the conclusion of the episode. For those listening in, that should already be done. Just head over to our pinned tweet. You'll see all the details there. It's a lot simpler than our last ones. We're trying to simplify the process, so no codes word this time. Just simply head on over to our Twitter, which is at TheCouchSquad, and simply like, retweet, follow the instructions, and another chance to win 3 months Game Pass Ultimate thanks to Xbox A and Z. With that in mind, we do have our winner from the last episode. For those that have been following our episodes, we have been doing one every episode thanks to Xbox A and Z. And the winner of that one is Cortex Candy. So congratulations to Cortex Candy. That is their Twitch handle name. We will be in touch with you within the next day. So yeah, there you go. There you go, guys. As easy as that. Cortex Candy just scored themselves 3 months Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
Yes.
Whippy.
Guys, if you're listening over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbeam, any of those, make sure you try and like it, share it, and if you can leave a comment, it helps us out greatly and gets our name pushed out a bit further, so more people can listen to the amazing DJ and more guests that we get on.
Yeah,
That's right,
let's
that's
go.
So now we really appreciate all the support, guys. The live streams have been fantastic, as well as the support on the audio versions and also the VOD versions as well that we put up on YouTube. So we're trying to make it accessible to as many people as possible. Okay, so now that we've kind of done all the intros, we'll get on with what we got on tonight. So as we have our first guest on tonight, we've kind of narrowed down what we've got on tonight just so we have enough time. So we've essentially been focusing on the three main titles. So we'll be focusing on Flight Simulator, as that has had such big success. We're going to do a lot of talking about that. The Ascent and how that's going. And then we'll be spending a lot of time with DJ and learning all about him, his involvement with the Halo community, and how the Halo flight test went, as that was big news on the social medias. So this is a big show to get through, even though we've only got the 3 items. So we're going to dive right into it, and we're going to kick off with Flight Simulator. So Flight Simulator, Epic and I were lucky enough to get early access.
Super early access
Super
too.
early access to Flight Simulator.
Yeah.
That's thanks to our partnership with Xbox ANZ. We were hoping we could have been talking about it in the last episode, but we were kind of under embargo for it. So yeah, Epic and I had a chance to get on the action early, and as a result, both our channels kind of went kaboom boom because everyone wanted to know all about it. What was your thoughts and your community's thoughts towards it, Epic?
I loved it. I was blown away by it, and I think it's awesome for all ages too. Like I saw a few tweets from there was a really nice one that somebody had posted that they'd showed it to their dad, and then they printed off this little picture of the controller and how to use the controls. So the dad, who I don't know how old he was, I think he was about 70 or something, could fly the plane over the places that he wanted to. So that's really cool, and it's super user friendly too. It's a bit daunting at the start, but once you get used to it, and you could use the AI pilot too, but I think anybody could use that quite easily. But yeah, I did the discovery flights, which are amazing. So if you haven't played it, the discovery flights is a feature, like a sort of dip your toes in the pool and takes you to, incredibly beautifully rendered places like Pyramids of Giza and Everest. So you're already flying in the sky. You start flying in the sky with that, and so you just enjoy the ride. And yeah, I took that plane all over the place. I think one of the flights I tracked was the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
So I looked online for the tours and plotted it out manually on the game itself, and that was amazing. Yeah, it's really good. But I don't know where the Harbour Bridge is. It's not there.
I noticed that, yes.
And I asked them.
The Sydney Harbour Bridge is just nowhere to be seen. You fly through Sydney, you see the beautiful Opera House, and there's just no Harbour Bridge.
And there's a bay.
Yeah.
Like, there are people who go to work who live on the other side of that bay. And this is not a ferry situation. We have a bridge.
That's like the airport that's...
There are little things that are missing here and there in the game.
There's an airport that's probably 2 or 3, maybe 4 years old now, that's just outside of where I live. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to fly into there. That's going to be awesome. I'll fly from there to Brisbane, and that would be it. And I went to the airport, and there was no airport. It was just a big green paddock. I was like, lovely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just took off. I was like, this sucks.
Yes, for those listening, Australia, all the locations are fantastic, but Australia is about, I think I've worked out it's about 5-6 years behind, and I've done that maths based on my knowledge from working at Brisbane Airport, because our new runway's been open for just over a year now, and when you fly through Brisbane, it's still like a big, massive like sand pit, and that was like that. Oh, that's early
Are
stages of
you
construction.
sure we're not like 100 years? If like the Sydney Harbour Bridge is not there, like when was that built?
So Drunk actually, who's in chat right now, is the one who took me through, and we actually we took off and flew from Perth and went down and flew through Albany and landed on the water. We took water planes and then flew up over through all the way over through Brisbane and down by the Brisbane airport up next to the water park. It was super cool. It was really beautiful because I haven't been back in forever, and so it was nice to go there. I think one of the things we did this back when it came out on Windows 10 for PC when we rolled through it. I think one of the things that stood out to me the most about this game was how the dynamic resolution and the consistency with the visuals and the graphics. And when you're flying, it's not glitchy. It's so smooth.
Oh,
the frames per second make it so buttery, and it's an exquisite opportunity. You have so many different points of views, so many different perspectives you can see, and you get your choices between planes. There's an upgrade in teaching systems, so you have a chance to not only learn basic flight controls, but also really get a good handle on why different planes respond differently, whether you're in a prop plane or a jet engine plane, whether you've got forward or aft engines and what you're doing. It's also pretty unforgiving if you are on realistic mode and you want to crash down into the ocean. Trust me, I did. I discovered I should not be a pilot. Now, granted, it flies different than an X-Wing, but that's not a real plane. So, yeah, no, it was a really great way. If you've been to a place that you haven't, if you want to visit a city you haven't been to in a while, it's a great way to get a refresher of what the city looks like, what it's like to fly over it, and really refresh some of those things that you loved about where you were visiting, and to be able to fly between buildings like this, which would be completely and thoroughly illegal.
Yeah.
I remember first loading it up. And I was like, oh, I'm going to jump into a 747. They can't be that hard to fly. And I was like, I'll be half realistic about it and go like in the cockpit and I'll flick all the dials and whatnot to make it fly. I looked at the cockpit. I was like, nope. No.
Yep.
Get out there.
It's like, it's
a better experience outside, in my opinion.
You look at your controller, like there's just not enough buttons. I mean, I can put my chat pad in, but that's not helping at all. In fact, this is making it much worse.
Something interesting if you didn't know, if you're not a fan of using the flight controllers, you can actually still, what they did, which I think is fantastic, you can actually still plug in a keyboard to your Xbox and use it in sync with your controller. So if you still want to use your controller, but just use a couple of keybinds on your keyboard, you can do that. So you can still fly around with your controller and go and just do something simple like your landing gear with your keyboard and stuff like that. But what I personally
and now there's flight controllers that are available for Xbox, an entire flight system.
Yes. What I personally enjoyed about it was I like how it being a sim is, it's just it doesn't matter whether you're a novice or an experienced person or whatever. It's you can just do whatever you want. So if you want to go in with the idea that I want to learn actually how to fly it and the realism of it, you can do that. But if you want to go in like for those in the last and what you're seeing now, that like Epic said, this is a discovery flight. Like the only training I did was the cameras. That was it. And you can just pick it up and fly. And for me personally, my enjoyment in Flight Simulator is the locations. It's not so much the long haul flights. For those that don't know, because of the early access I think I got really lucky and got into it early. I had a massive huge spike in my YouTube channel. We had something like 120,000 views just over a week, and so I've met some amazing people from the flight sim community, and they will literally fly from Australia to England. I'm like, how do you have the time? They're like, oh yeah, we just put the autopilot on, we'll go to work and come home and finish off the flight.
Right. Right.
But my enjoyment personally is the locations. You're never going to see all the locations in your life. So this is the next best thing to, I'm probably never going to go to Rio, but Rio is probably one of my favorite locations, and then the music they put behind it in the soundtrack is just so, relaxing. And then when you chuck in the multiplayer on that and the simplicity of how you can just fly with the community, it's a great experience. Whether you're a huge flight sim fan or a huge Flight Simulator fan or not, I think it's definitely worth even just checking out your own, backyard. Personally,
Especially if you could, like, nobody could really travel now. It's nice to fly to places that you were planning on going, or taking family members or friends to places they can watch in the background. It's quite moving actually, because my mother wanted to go to Europe, so it's nice to take them for a flight, and it's close obviously, but she could recognize all the different landmarks and stuff like that. So
and keep in mind that this has all been done on Xbox hardware. That shows you the power of it. Like, I've been hearing people say, like, in the comments and the videos saying, wow, people put in like 3090 graphics cards and high-end CPUs, and they can't get a consistency of high level frame rates with the graphic detail, and yet the consoles were able to pull it off. Like, this footage is all from the Xbox Series X, and even the S. The S version still does. It's just amazing.
Development for a PC game versus one for a dedicated console with a strict hardware profile is super different. They are two completely different worlds. When you have a hardware profile like an Xbox, you have only one set of hardware to work with. That's all you can do, and you can fine tune everything down to a very pristine, exact functionality. When you have to design something that can go with a myriad of different potential possibilities, whether it's RAM speed, whether you're running an M.2 solid state or an actual spinning disk drive, there's just a whole bunch of things that can go wrong. And
it makes sense.
I'm discovering that now in game development. It's really interesting. One thing I want to point out that I'm seeing in this video, which, by the way, this is absolutely breathtaking coverage. I think it's just a beautiful example.
I love the sunset. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love is the dynamic weather. You can actually change it to realistic so that it's reflective of the area you're in. If you want to take off from your local airport, and say if I wanted to fly from Portland to Seattle, or I wanted to fly up to Vancouver, BC, I can put it into realistic mode, like for the weather. And if it's nighttime here, it's nighttime in the game. If it's raining here, it's raining in the game. But if it's not raining in Seattle, you'll notice the weather changes as you're flying up there through the weather patterns. It's really in depth when you think about it. It's an incredible accomplishment, and it's a huge upgrade on the last flight simulator that they came out with ages ago.
A lot of the community wanted me to fly around Ireland and England. What do you think the weather was like there in live? You want to have a guess?
Probably raining.
Yeah.
Raining and storms. It's not all good news though. Like, I've personally, again, I've had a lot of different comments. I've personally not. I think I've had 2 crashes to the desktop personally. My mate's only had 2 crashes to the desktop, but there is a definite issue out there where people actually on the consoles haven't been able to boot up. Like, I had a mate comment, he's loaded into the game, tried to load a flight, literally gone to bed, and it's still trying to load there. There's a huge problem at the moment with some Xboxes still crashing to desktop. Flight Simulator actually only put out a tweet today apologizing for their lack of feedback. They do finally have a hot fix coming for it, and they are looking into the crash to desktop issue, but that's definitely been weird. Like, there's definitely a batch of us that aren't having the issue and enjoying the experience, but I've got a lot of unhappy community members that go, I just want to play the game and I've crashed 10 times today, or I just can't boot it up at all. And yeah, it's been really weird to watch. It's like, I haven't had the issue. I can't help you. I don't know. Like, I'm assuming, again, I'm not a developer. I'm assuming it's servers. I don't know. I can't see it being hardware if I'm not having an issue personally. I would, and people are saying that they're on 100 meg download, so I don't know. I don't think it's that. I don't know. I'm not a developer, but
that's probably one of the things though. Like, when it released on Game Pass, the amount of, because everyone had the option to, I definitely did have an option to pre-install it. The amount of people that would have been trying to jump in on the first day or the first week, the servers were just getting absolutely pounded by traffic. Whereas that's probably where a lot of the issues with like connecting and that will all come into factor with stuff. But I think people, when it starts coming out a bit longer and they start with hot fixes and stuff, will probably fix those little issues.
So overall, I don't know if I've actually rated Flight Simulator yet, but I think I'd personally give this one an 8 out of 10. And I in my latest video I gave it a must. Regardless if you're a flight sim fan or not, it's worth installing just to fly around your own backyard, in my opinion, and just to experience a discovery flight.
Oh,
we have a big TV upstairs, and it's one of the things I want to do because my housemate is not a gamer, but we've got this beautiful TV that has this incredible picture, and I'm like, I want to load this up and just go flying around because he's gonna love it. He's never been to Australia. I want to show him Australia, and yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing.
It's a good time.
It's locked to 30 FPS.
Just not the bridge in Sydney, because the bridge in Sydney.
If you've got a VRR monitor or a TV, you are actually capable of getting some higher FPS out of it as well, which is even better.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
no, it's a definite must from me. That's all I think we'll cover on the Flight Simulator. Install it, enjoy it on Game Pass. It's just a fantastic game to check out. Moving on to another great game that came out, which was the Ascent. So for those in the live stream, I've had to dig up some of my stream footage because I had to clear out my hard drive space because was full. So the Ascent came out 29th is Epic.
Yeah.
So for those that have no idea what the Ascent is, it is essentially a top-down RPG.
Twin stick shooter.
Yeah. Set in a cyberpunk world. Whippy, you've had a chance to dive into that one, mate. What do you think of it?
Of the Ascent. I've got mixed feelings about it. The whole idea of it I really like, but for some reason something about it's just, I don't know, something about it I'm just not liking. Can't actually pinpoint what it is because it's visually a stunning game.
Yep.
They've done a good job in that aspect of it. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, something about it. I'll probably keep playing it and see if I can give it a bit more of a go, but I've probably put in probably 2 hours or something, which I don't think is enough to really
2 hours,
hit or miss a game.
2 hours is a fair time. I agree with you. I think when you first load in and you kind of get past that tutorial, or even not, I guess even in the tutorial, I think visually the game is just stunning. Like, oh my god, like you just load this game up and that's one thing I'm hearing at the game. And the game is definitely stunning. There's been I enjoy the gameplay mechanics. I enjoy the multiplayer aspect of it. It's got some. I wouldn't say I know you're going to dive into your issues, Epic, but for my play experience, I haven't had any game breaking bugs, but I've had annoying bugs. So just little things like bosses not spawning in, so you got to reload, or you go talk to a vendor that doesn't load correctly, so you got to reload. Or I'm noticing my last playthrough, I'm starting to get little weird sound audio issues. Like I was playing with Damo the other day, and like I could hear the gun still shooting, but I'm like, dude, can you tap your gun button for a minute? And he would shoot, and then the sound would go. It's just little things like that. Just enough that they become more of an annoyance than anything. I'm overall really enjoying my time, and I'm hoping to complete it soon as I get time. What was your thoughts, Epic?
I love it. I think the problem that people find is they just might have difficulty being immersed in it just because it is a top down, you know what I mean? So usually when we're playing games, it's either first person or we're like right behind the character. But when it's top down, it's a little bit more sort of surgical, and I think that makes it a little bit difficult sometimes to connect with it. But yeah, there were a few problems, but I've enjoyed it that much that I think it's forgivable though. After a patch, I hope that it gets fixed. Some of them were in the main mission. So if you were a certain distance away from the objective, it wouldn't pop, for example. So some, different parts of main missions were broken for some people, and some people they weren't. So I've contacted the developer. They haven't got back to me yet.
Keep in mind too, this was a team of 12. This is not a huge team. This is a team of 12 that made this game. I think what they've done with a team of 12 is pretty damn.
But with the video that I done, the tutorial, there's a lot of stuff with the skills and the attributes that it has that it seemed that it was skimmed over, and it didn't make it very user friendly for people. So that's why I made a tutorial on that, because it was just like very vague. And
I agree with you there. Yeah, when you go through that menu, it's like, I think from what I heard, they tried to make it less cluttery, but I actually found it the opposite, because you're looking at your armor and you got all these picture icons. I'm like, okay, well that's great, but what does that actually do? And you got to tap another button to bring up the text of actually what that does. I would have
Yeah.
preferred it just have the icon with the name and go, okay, that marries up with that. So yeah, I definitely agree there. My negatives, I guess, around that is that they could have done better in that space. And this is being a bit nitpicky. I felt, you ask Maz, I'll create a character in 5-10 minutes. I'm not too fussed, but Maz will spend a day creating a character.
Same.
But in this one, I felt the character customization options could have been better. Like, I usually like to spend 2-3 minutes just making like a me version. You know, oh yeah, it looks like me, sweet. I would have had more chance of making a DJ version than making me. Like there wasn't much options.
Just yank the hair off and call it a day.
yank
There
the
we
hair
go.
off.
Another thing that's unfortunate is the loot drops there. They're the same guns over and over and over and over and over again. And it's like the guns that drop on the ground will have this like red light to them. And it's like, oh, good, I got loot. And it's just the same guns as you've already got most of the time. So when we were playing, we were like, it'd be better to just have credits on the ground instead of having, replicas that you had to go sell. But yeah, we had the audio stuff too. So you could load in and there'd be no sound. There were points in time where I got stuck inside cars. And I didn't know that there was a taxi service until reading the codex in the menu. And the left directional calls a taxi up. And I didn't know that till I was about level 17. So it was probably in the dialogue, but I didn't find the dialogue that riveting. So I skipped some of it. And I don't know, it could be in there, but what else is there? And that's another thing. The lack of immersion, I think, is because of how restricted the character customization is too. It's just, here's a few choices, see you later, where Cyberpunk was about the character, their world, and their experience. And in this one, you're just sort of, going through the motions of getting through the place. It's pretty different, I think.
Yeah, well,
I love it, by the way. I'm not hating on it at all. I love it, but it's certainly, I would never compare it to Cyberpunk, besides the aesthetic of the city, and that's it.
In this version, for those that don't know, you can literally create your character, and usually with most character customizations, that's kind of it, what you've made, that's it, unless you go and I guess spend some kind of currency or whatever to change things up. It's only minimal. It's usually like hair colors and things like that can change. You can literally go to the grafter and go from male to female, female to male. You can change anything. It doesn't cost you anything.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's good
so
that you can do that.
I guess pro or con depending on how you look at it, but yeah, the character customization doesn't really matter. You can just change the way you look at any point during your play time.
Your character's so small too, so you can't really. It doesn't really matter so much with the top down too.
DJ, I know you haven't had a chance to obviously play it yourself. Have you seen much about it on social media?
I have. The trailers, I'll be honest, the trailers and the marketing for the game were absolutely spectacular. And as you just saw there, one of the cutscenes, there is an excessive level of detail on these maps. You look at the characters, the size, the dynamic design on them, which is all impressive. But when I see that as the primary form of marketing or the representation during trailers of the game as you're trying to lay out a storyline, it's a little disappointing when you don't get that same level of detailed action. It's because it's an RTS. It's a top-down. Now, that is just my opinion. I am not an RTS player. I played Halo Wars 2, and that was sort of a top-down RTS, but that was just me. Visually, I think they did an astounding job. I would love to see this transformed into a first-person or even a third-person playstyle, because I think these maps, they put in such a significant level of detail into this game, from the weapon trails, everything that's going on with the characters. Obviously, there's a significant level of design with the characters, and you've got so much going on in the background. It'd be really neat to find a way, like Epic was saying, to become more immersed and become more, I would say, just more embedded within the community, within the environment of this game.
Imagine
oh yeah, in a first person, this would be wild.
Oh yeah,
so wild.
VR. Imagine it in VR.
Oh yeah, but the flip side is you lose some of those gameplay mechanics that are iconic and typical that come, in an RTS style game, and so you'd have to redesign some of the gameplay elements and how you manage to functionally operate your team, your weapons, your drops in a new and different way, and it would be basically tearing the entire game apart and starting over.
Yeah.
But like this scene right here is incredible, and I know I'm probably watching a few seconds behind.
Yeah, my
You go from this light and bright
I'm a shot.
explosions, dark reds,
It's
greens,
yeah.
great use of color.
The color, it's the
Yeah.
it's the color. It's the color. It's for me. It's the colors. It's like explosions,
Yeah.
prettiness, and I'm in love with the.
It's very vibrant.
I'm in love with the shotguns. I'm all shotguns in my build at the moment, so I'm just running around with multiple shotguns going bang bang bang. But it's definitely a lot harder in the single player. I felt you had to play a lot differently. In multiplayer, I felt a little bit more free because of the support. But multiplayer is so much fun. Multiplayer is so much fun in this. But yeah, looks.
Are we allowed to swear on the show?
Yeah. It's okay.
Okay, awesome. Also, fuck you guys listening to the podcast. You're missing all the great videos. You should go back and watch the VOD. Just kidding. You missed out, suckers.
Yes. So if you ever want to catch the, for those that are listening in on the show,
Like and subscribe.
we try and put some gameplay in there for the live show, so they got something.
Oh,
to
good.
see, so.
Okay. Yeah, because I like really people should really get to see this. I think it's a really this is a really brilliant example of what goes on in this game. See, look at how dark that just got.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
Yeah, this room here was beautiful. Like I think I actually commented on
Yeah.
the thing. I go, wow, look at the explosions and the fire and stuff. It's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's just that there is just like it's so so good for me.
Mhm.
I think I even commented on the live stream, but I think I'd have to give I'd probably give Ascent at its current state 7.5. What about you,
Yeah.
Epic? What would you
Yeah, I reckon that too. Just because of the, the story isn't that riveting to me, but I just love playing it. So I'm gonna go for. I don't want to give it a 7. I kind of want to give it more, but it deserves a 7.
It
certainly deserves
yeah.
a play. Holy smokes! Yeah,
These cutscenes.
yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, they did a good job. They did a good job in this area. That's why I think that's why it's scored them so high. It's just they've just done such a good job. But not even that. Like, it's keep in mind this is I think this is Damo's story, but even in the multiplayer, it's still bringing in all the characters for that immersion. So it doesn't matter if you've got 1, 2, 4 of you. It'll bring in all of you to kind of interact. So that was really good. So that's the Ascent, guys. Again on Xbox Game Pass. DJ, before we start talking about you, would you like to sell Xbox Game Pass to everyone, like, and why they should get it?
Yes, sure. For those of you who don't know what Xbox Game Pass is, with Xbox Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate for Windows 10 PC, you get access to over 300 plus games across an entire library, both from the current Microsoft Game Studios and their partners with Bethesda. Along with Ultimate, you also get EA games. So you get that Game Pass as well. That is includes your Xbox Live. So that means you can get into all those sweaty multiplayer maps in all the exclusive games. You get day one access and more. For more information, head on over to xbox.com/AU and keyword search Xbox Game Pass.
That was absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, I do things for stuff. I'm a walking advertisement. It's ridiculous.
Two great games. All right. So this next part of the segment, it's a little bit different to our normal one. Because our first guest, DJ, we're very excited to have him on and appreciative of the fact that it's now probably 2:30 in the morning for him.
Yes.
So before we actually go diving into the Halo component of the game and the flight test and all that, I think it's actually very important that we actually learn more about DJ himself. And I've said that deliberately for this point. So DJ, why don't you actually introduce yourself and who you are and what you actually do?
Well, I wear many hats. I work 7 days a week across a couple different jobs. I'm a full-time content creator, obviously a former Mixer partner. I am currently a Twitch affiliate. I used to be associated with Halo in the sense that I was the event program manager for Halo Outpost Discovery. Our North American tour was in 2019, right before the entire world went to shit and everything got locked down because of a sneeze, and then it got worse, and so that didn't happen again. But we got it done. We got it off the
for those that might not know what the Halo Point Discovery is, did you want to briefly explain that one?
Yeah. So Halo Outpost Discovery was an opportunity for 343. I worked with them and with Hershen Live and the Harlem Globetrotters to create a live event that basically turned entire convention center halls into fire-based experiences within the Halo universe. So we had a 10,000 square foot laser tag arena that looked like one of the maps in Halo 3. We had basically an escape room that looked like a piece from a Covenant ship. We had the Pelican training, which was, we built out the inside of a Pelican and actually had a process, and you had to work as a team in order to keep this Pelican from crashing.
Wow.
And follow instructions. Everybody had to communicate. It was really, really interesting. There was a 250 console gaming arena, along with a Windows, an actual PC gaming arena, where we featured the E3 demo for Halo Reach with Master Chief Collection that came out at at the E3 Expo in LA that summer as well. So yeah. Aside from that,
Slay them all, Spartan.
started out in Orlando and went from Orlando to Philadelphia to Chicago to Houston, and then finished out in Anaheim
Skewer obtained.
the same weekend as PAX West. And then me and the rest of my team flew directly. That's like Monday, like it was Monday morning, and we flew straight from Anaheim all the way to Seattle to finally get in the last day of PAX West there, which was wild. Then I turned around and came to see all of you a couple weeks later. So aside from that, I'm also one of the producers, and so that's just for that. I'm also one of the producers and the community manager, as well as the principal voice actor for Insula Bounty Royale, a game that I've been helping develop since last year. And by helping develop, I mean, I am not an actual developer. That is Ethan and Taj. They do all of one does the maps, one does the programming. The rest of us just help out and do what we can to make these characters come to life. So I'm also one of the hosts for DreamHack Plays and the speedrunning host for DreamHack and DreamHack Beyond.
How do you find
So
time? How do you find time to sleep?
That's all I sleep and I stream. People, one of the questions that happened earlier was, how are you dealing with how are you dealing with being locked in, in the US with all the lockdowns that happened? Well, let's see. My studio is in my basement, and I have a bedroom upstairs that I would really like. That's my goal for taking this kind of week off from streaming, was to clean it. I've spent most of it last at least 2 days, either working off stream or watching Gilmore Girls, and just trying to relax. So, but I've been doing a lot of writing and character creation, for Insula. So yeah, but I'm also the announcer for Griffball. I've been doing Griffball tournaments since 2014, and kind of been the announcer for Griffball for a long time.
Do we need to ask what Griffball? Most people would know what Griffball is, wouldn't they? Surely.
If you don't know what Griffball is, oh my God, where have you been? Griffball is a 4v4 field sport that started out in 2008 with Halo 3. It began as a joke with Rooster Teeth, and it's played inside Halo 3, Reach, 4, and 5 so far. And it's, you're armed with a hammer and a sword. There's a ball in the middle, and you've got 4 people on each end. You've got to get to the ball, grab it, get it in the goal. That's it. At least it seems that simple until you realize these people are chasing you with hammers and swords. So yeah. As you can see on screen, this is what we're looking at here is actually Insula.
Yeah, so tell everyone let's talk about that. So you're making you're the CM for a game that's in alpha mode called Play Insula. It's a team of 3, including yourself, correct?
No. I think right now we're up to 11 on our staff, but
11.
It's a 2-person dev team. That's it.
Okay.
Ethan does all the maps, he's one person made all of these maps. One person made as that is the programmer for the game. We have an incredible designer who kind of designed the Anthrobots, and then little Ethan, who is Ethan's son, he creates all of our videos. And so when we started coming up with marketing ideas of things we could do, he's like, well, I've been playing around in the theater, and in one of our very first meetings, we were joking about the fact there was this robot that has always just been kind of a joke that they've had, and I made a voice for him, and it entertained them so much he became kind of one of the centerpieces of the entire game.
Yeah.
Nice.
And his name is Botbox.
Oh my gosh.
He's fun and kind of awkward, but yeah, he's kind of guiding all the hunters around and making sure that you can accomplish all your tasks. So he has a friend. He's looking for his friend. His friend's name is Fred, and he's actually a yellow chicken, which is a totally serious thing, and that's going to be part of the storyline, and it's kind of fun.
Good old
So,
Fred.
yeah, I ironically, I started working on this last summer, right about the same time as Mixer shut down, and so Fred has been a major part of our marketing forever over on my channel, and I still have all my rubber chickens.
Yes,
still.
Fred the chicken's joining us tonight. Hey, just for those listening in that isn't getting the awesome opportunity to see this gameplay, did you want to kind of explain what Play Insula is actually about?
Sure. So it's Insula Bounty Royale. It is a new take on. It's what we were considering an evolution from coming from the concept of a battle royale. Battle royales are classically known for having their shrinking arena, whereas that's not a thing. But you are tasked with obtaining bounties through your kills, and in this stage of the alpha, what we've got going on is you're simply racking up kills either by pulling bounties out of chests that you may find, so bounty chits, or getting kills and accomplishing kills. You have an in-flight system, and it's a really fast-paced. It'll be free to play, but it is designed around multiple different aspects. So, yeah.
And for those listening in, it's got similar. Now, I'm going to use a comparison here, but DJ assured me that they started on this before it came out. It's got similar flying mechanics to Anthem, for those that are listening in. So
I would say the flying mechanics are actually a lot smoother than Anthem's. It's a lot more fluid. And as somebody who is a huge fan of Anthem, I can see why it's comparison, because really there's nothing else out there like this.
No, there's not.
But the big difference, we've got a ping system, and so the motivator for getting people to finish the fight, of course, is because longer it waits, the smaller the bounty gets. But you want to try and get the top bounty, and sometimes it doesn't work out the way you think it does. It's incredible. Right now we just finished stage 1 of the closed alpha, and we'll be moving into the next stage of production. We're doing that actually right now. So eventually we'll be adding a PvE element, an AI system to the game, along with a variety of other elements. And the campaign itself is extraordinarily deep.
Yep.
So, and there will be a full campaign storyline as well to play. So
if people want to get involved, how do they go about getting involved in this project?
So, if you'd like to know more, you can head on over to playinsula.com or insulagame.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at playinsula. You can sign up for our alpha directly on our website, and there you go. And of course, we've got our own Discord as well. You can head over to discord.gg/playinsula. That is a moment where I actually got first place in a game, which does not happen ever. This definitely has changed. It has changed the way that I've seen and experienced game development in so many different ways, because it's one thing being a Halo insider. It's another thing when you're actually going in and learning about all the back-end systems and how things function and work, when you're thinking about the different dynamic ways of what can affect gameplay and how you have to balance that out. There are pros and there's cons. If you lift something up, you have to bring something else down. You have to adjust it so you've got an even keel balance on it. And we've got a really great community that's providing a lot of necessary feedback that is interesting, because we have a lot of other game developers who've been coming in, testing our game out, and giving us all the feedback. It's been a wonderful opportunity to work with some really great people and to watch Ethan and Taj's dream come to life. And the more that we are working in this, the more I'm seeing how different it is to come at a game from a development standpoint than it is to come at the game from a gaming standpoint. It's also interesting watching, because you realize, like, one of our biggest features is that we don't have clear walls. There's no clear boundaries.
Okay.
You know how when you're in a game and you're running and you look like you should be able to get up on a wall or get up on something, and you can't, and it's like, why can I not get through here? That is not a thing here. If you look like you can fit through it, trust me, you can fit through it. Everything is
fantastic.
traversable.
That's
And
fantastic.
it's
So
yeah.
is this game only on PC, or are they looking at going everywhere with it?
Presently, it is being developed for PC. As we continue, we are definitely like we're not counting out console at all. But
Gotta focus
it's
on
one of
one
those.
first.
We've only got so many people on staff, and we are going to start somewhere and then go elsewhere. But again, that is the team is constantly looking at all options while also figuring out the best way to lay out the development in a way that makes sense, and it's going to advocate for an incredible experience for our testers as we get this thing closer to being a fully polished game. And again, for an alpha in this state, I'm
It's
still
looking
just
great.
amazed at it.
It's looking
Like this
fantastic.
is an alpha.
This is alpha.
Yeah,
Not a
good.
beta. This is an alpha. And it's looking. And just for those watching, the modder that I'm capturing this on tends to wash things out. So that is actually a lot. That shouldn't be that bright. So it looks worse.
Yeah.
That's what I'm supposed to say.
It looks the light, like Ethan is so much does such an incredible job with the lighting. Luckland FTW is who does it. He actually develops the game live on stream. So if people want to go by Luckland's stream and actually look at it and watch him make these maps, make these arenas, edit things, fix things, find bugs, he will go through conversations with players from the alpha team, and hey, we found something. Really? Where? Well, hang on, let me get back into that map real quick. And do it live right there on stream and show people what he's doing, and everything is as transparent as you could possibly imagine, and it's really wonderful. There's some really smart features that we've implemented, like the weapon pickup, for example. Unlike other loot collection systems where you go in and you see it and you've got to focus on, am I picking this up or not? Did I just pick up a less ready gun? If you walk in and you pick up an AR, any AR that is a higher tier, you auto swap it out
Oh wow.
I like
automatically.
That. That's
They
nice.
It's all recharge weapons, so you can pick up recharge kits both for your shields and for your weapons. So if your weapon is in the process of recharging and you're in the middle of a dogfight and you need to get out of there, you can use an instant recharge kit that'll recharge all your weapons right then and there and turn around. You can only and fire. But you can only carry 4 of those at a time. Same thing with your shields, but you can't shoot or repair while in fast flight because, well, you're in fast flight. So, like, who's really arming themselves in fast flight? But
That game.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
wait.
a- it's a lot of fun.
I can't wait to see the game develop. It's looking really good for an alpha, and I have signed up for it. So, lucky I know a guy might be able to get me in on the next alpha when it kicks up.
yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we are waiting for more keys. Currently, we actually exhausted our keys with the amount of people who signed up. We've got over 4,400 people with it on their wish list on Steam,
Wow.
and it's a testament to we're doing something right. So I'm really excited, and for me, as somebody who's always enjoyed shoutcasting and enjoyed the esports side of it, it's fun to be able to look at the back end and go, okay, what do we need to do to make this a viable esport? What do we need to do in order to create a proper casting experience? What would need to happen for us to have something that is going to be usable in a large game format, so that if we want to do something at, say, DreamHack or at PAX or at PAX Aus and bring the game down to PAX Australia and run a tournament of some kind, what would we want to do and how would we want to build that into the game so that it's usable and functional for anybody to be able to do it?
Yep.
And asking all those questions. But I think the one thing that I wasn't anticipating was creating the characters. And we have an incredible writer. His name is Schrader. Ed Schrader has written these stories and brilliant pieces. And then when we come up with concepts for characters, I'll put a voice to them and then write out the lines, and he'll look at them and be like, yeah, that's okay, go. And he gives me a lot of leeway to just kind of play with things. And it's been a really interesting deep dive into that side of creativity that I didn't really ever consider doing before.
Yep.
And it's been interesting. It's been creepy in some cases. I've created some voices that for characters that are really uncomfortably dark. Yeah.
He's even got an Aussie one as well that he says he has to have a few drinks for to get right.
Yeah. And so that's actually some of our soldiers that we've got in the back end. So
So
yeah,
with the
some
with what you've had to do, with what you've seen in the development side on Play Insula, transferring that over to the Halo flight test that was happened over the weekend. When you see all the different, obviously with any flight test, there's feedback, and there's plenty of it on Twitter. How do you feel like looking at that? And something like you see a lot of feedback, you see a lot of people replying, going, "Oh, but just fix this. We just want this fixed."
I find it. I'm gonna say it's not disturbing. It's one of those things I've now gotten used to it. But I find that a lot of people who have zero experience in game development have this concept that things happen at the flip of a switch. I saw a lot of comments from it about, well, the weapons feel like this, the weapons feel like that. That makes me want to pull my eyeballs out, because at no point was this about
the weapons and
weapon balancing.
Yeah.
This was a technical preview. This was a test to test it out.
And what modes did they have? What modes did they come in? Just for those that might not be up to speed with Halo, what modes did they bring in? They brought in a 4v4 players versus 4 bots. Is that correct? And they were testing
there was bot testing from what I understand, and to be clear, I was not part of this test. I was in the middle of our alpha at the same time, so I was not part of the invite for this.
But you've played another flight test though.
I have no information on any current or future projects with 343 Halo Industries. If I had, it would have been under if I had, it would have been under an NDA that I wouldn't be able to talk about. But there are, there's a lot of different insiders who provided varying different opportunities, and I've played I've been in every single flight test for everything up to Infinite, but this was for me, this was the worst time, and I spent as much time as I could watching some really amazing content creators like Green Skull and Minolta 1034, and really getting to see their experience and catch it. And there's some really incredible new stuff. When you look at the game design, when you look at the art design for it, they've definitely taken another step in another direction, and it's great. I love it. That being said, it's a technical preview. If they were specifically testing weapons and asking for weapon balance replies, that probably would have been something they would have said, hey, we're going to be looking at these specific things. They've done it before in games where they've said, hey, we're looking specifically for results and responses on this, or this.
Yep.
And they will tell you in the documentation when they send you your invite for the insiders, for that insider build, and for whatever flighting that is, they will tell you what they're looking for, what kind of responses they're looking for, what they're testing, what they're looking at. And I'm sure that this is one of many flights that will probably be coming out.
No doubt.
And as people can see, there has been some exquisite work on this game, and I could not be happier to see the progress that has been made.
They brought in
but I'm also friends with these people, so I've never lost faith in the fact that I knew this was going to be amazing from the get-go.
Yeah, they brought in because we discussed this last episode, because we discussed an interview with the lead multiplayer. I think he was a map designer. We read an interview, and there was a couple of new features. So he mentioned that they were bringing in a ping system and item spawners. So I was trying to look for them in clips. I don't know if you know yourself. Are they similar to the item spawners? Are they similar to what Call of Duty do with the zombie mode, where they throw it up on the wall? Is that what the item spawners are in the multiplayer? Do you know the weapons, etc.? Because I'm assuming they had. I'm not sure if you've seen it in the gameplay or not.
The weapon locker, I think it was, wasn't it? It's the locker.
Well, the weapon lockers have been around before. In varying different forms.
They said it was in Halo 2, I think. Remembering the interview, because he said in the interview they said that because obviously the Halo multiplayer is free, and they know that in past multiplayers you had to go to a certain spot to get the weapon on the ground, but they wanted a new player to kind of have a bit of an easier time. I think it was the wording. So
weapon mounting's probably on a wall, I would guess.
I'm trying to even look for it in this footage here, and I can't find them, so I don't know if they had them in the flight test or not. I wasn't sure if you knew yourself or not.
I really love some of the moves, the grappling hooks. Honestly, I think it's a great addition.
So based on what you
But
based
yeah,
on what you saw, what do you think of it? Based on what you've seen from all the different content creators, what do you think of the flight test and how it went?
I think the flight test went wonderful once it got going.
Yep.
You know, there's a little bit of a hiccup at the very beginning there, but you're also talking about the largest flight they've ever done. So key distribution, as we discovered with Insula, it is when you're managing 1,000 keys to getting out is one thing. When you're managing 30,000 to 100,000 keys, that's mind-boggling management right there. That is some serious asset management that has to happen, and things can happen. You know, you get site overloads and in a myriad of other potential things that could go wrong. They had a little bit of a rough start, and it happens. It's technology. Anybody who knows anything about technology knows it doesn't necessarily always work the way you think it's going to work.
Definitely
when
not.
it starts working, you know, when you want it to work. So it's like that one moment when you need to find your phone and make a phone call, and then it starts to slow up. Like if you're in an emergency situation, you're trying to get it to open up. You know, you've left the worst voicemail for, you know, who you thought was your ex-employer because you just quit, except for you found out it was actually your mom, and you're like, oh God, Mom, I didn't actually call you that. And of course, then your phone freezes and you have to reboot it. And by that time, it's been heard, and you have to explain to your, you know, dad why all hell's breaking loose, and Mom's actually packing dishes to throw at you when she gets to your house.
That was a very specific story, DJ. Is it like a past experience or?
No, I'm just guessing. It's just guessing, you know. No, but there's some I really like the new designs. There's some significant detail, especially with the weapon splash, like all the different design on these things. And you know, to be fair, like I know that we have a bunch of placeholder stuff in Insula. It's very likely that a lot of this stuff was placeholders.
Yep. I agree.
You know, and it's a lot easier to mount placeholder baselines that are across that rather than say, okay, now that we know that, because what you have to do is you have to create the base and get the base functional. That's why, despite Insula's got so many different layers to it, we have to get our PvP baseline set in place. Once you get the PvP baseline, then you can start adding all the other little pieces to round the experience out. I imagine game development's pretty consistent on that. Once you get this lined out, then you can start, okay, now let's bring in these weapons. Let's take a look and see what people's response are. Maybe we'll do a 4-day test. And day one will be, we're just going to focus on the UNSC baselines. We're going to do the AR, the BR, the Magnum, and one of the other rifles, or maybe the sniper rifle. Let's get those balanced first. The next day we'll move on to the second set of these next things. Get that feedback coming in, especially from players who are used to using these in previous games, but are also playing similar titles in the same genre across a myriad of other titles. And you want to get that information from them and kind of find that good medium, because a lot of times you'll find people on the extreme. It's like the Olympics. You want to throw out the bottom, throw out the top, and kind of find that average medium that's consistent to look at, okay, what's good, what's bad, what's working, what's not. And I've seen some people do amazing things with some of these. When you look at like Hidden Xperia's video and some of the things that he pulled off was really impressive. They were using the sensor grenades.
Yeah.
Throw the and so he used the pack, right, to fly. And so they would throw the sensor grenade on him so he could fly up around and basically scan the whole area. And they would figure out oh yeah, he would end up going down, but the rest of his team would get who was there. And it brings a whole new level of coordination and gameplay with players really leaning on one another instead of just going solo. And I think you're going to find a bigger success with players who really enjoy playing together, who find that dynamic relationship and engage with that level of communication. But it's also great for meeting new people, especially people who maybe don't feel comfortable talking on a mic. That ping system is wonderful in that sense that it allows those people who maybe somebody's playing at night, maybe somebody's, in a studio apartment, and maybe there's, somebody's asleep, somebody's pregnant, somebody's got a dog that they don't want to wake up because it'll make a lot of noise. And so you put your headphones on and you want to tell them, hey, you've got somebody on your left and you can't scream it. So now you ping it. We have a ping system in Rainbow Six Siege. and it works just fine. I still suck at it, but I enjoy using it. Ask Maz.
And with Halo multiplayer being free, that's got to be one of their smartest moves they made here. Like, how do you feel that is going? How do you feel?
Oh yeah, look at that. Can you back the video up right there? There's your weapon spawner on the wall.
I could.
He just picked up the needler.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just picked up the needler there. So I think it's a great new direction. One of the things that you can take a look at the Halo franchise over the years doing is consistently adding to, changing, and altering the way that they're approaching developing a game. When you look at how they told the story in ODST and Reach, it was very different than the way they told us than they were telling the story in Halo CE 2 and 3. But then you look at the way Halo 4 story was much more linear, whereas opposed to Halo 5, you were bouncing back and forth. It was constantly evolving, and that's the name of the game's original title, Combat Evolved, and it's been evolving. So now we've got a free-to-play, which seems to be a more common model that is being used by game developers. You look at the success being seen by Fortnite, you look at the success being seen by some of these other games, and it's worked out. And using this new formula, Fortnite kind of changed the nature of game development in that sense with its success. But we're going to be getting people from all over the world, both on Xbox and on PC, into a free-to-play opportunity to experience it. Now, do they want to go and play the campaign? Don't know. We'll see, and we'll hope so. I know I am. I'm loving the campaign.
Yeah,
I'm going to be diving so deep into that game. I'm going to play the living daylights out of it. But I'm excited because for those people who I game with who are not necessarily or have not been in the past Halo fans, I think it'll be really interesting to see how that changes the nature of the community and how it changes the size of the community. I think we're going to see a lot of different people from a lot of different, I would say different genres coming and testing it out and seeing it. And I think they're going to enjoy. I hope that they enjoy what they see, because I think the team at 343 has worked exceedingly hard on this, and they've done an exquisite job bringing this to life in spite of a pandemic, to all of the different things that have happened. It's important that be recognized. Game development is not easy. It's not simply 100%. A matter of throw this map up. You have to consider the maps, whether they're balanced, what you can do in them, why you would do that in them. Is it possible to do within an FFA versus team? There's so many different variants of to look at the conversation, and I find that people who are critical of it tend to not be in game development. And if they were to go into game development, they would discover that there is a lot more involved to this than they possibly could think of.
And I think what a lot of these games have managed to do in with COVID is pretty good as well. Like just having to work from home or something like that. I think
well, it's interesting.
I think we need to be more thankful. we get the end product, but I think it's like I don't know if it's a fair comparison. It's like a movie. Like when you watch a movie, you see the actors' faces, so you can appreciate the actors that worked on it. But it's what you don't see is I'm going to just throw a movie out here, Star Wars, for instance. Like when you watch the behind the scenes stuff of going back to like episode 3, just the Obi-Wan Anakin scene, like the amount of people involved in that fight sequence is hundreds. But you don't know, you wouldn't know their names from a bar of soap. And I think it's similar here. Like there's so many people that are working on these games. Yeah. But all we see is the Halo and the end product, and probably a few high profile faces behind it.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I can talk about this part. Like, so at 343 at the studio, there is an actual lab, a play lab, a test lab downstairs on the first floor. I think I'm allowed to say that. Anyways, it's not. There you go. Cut it. It's when you're thinking about the development side of stuff, you've got an entire building dedicated to a game. Yep. If you want to make something, push something out, build something out, program something, you can throw it on down. You can push the build out, send it down here, play. Okay, cool. Then they can do that. Now, I'm just saying this is what happens. I'm just saying that's a possibility. If you are all at home and you need to go to one of the level designers and say, hey, can you do this, this, and that? This isn't working. This needs to be fixed, and I can walk through this wall. There's no collision on this, on these pieces here on the map. Well, it's one thing to just go walk over to somebody's desk and say, hey, go here, here, and here. Yeah, no, that. Oh, wow, collision's up. Okay, cool. Boom. Put collision back on, or fix the piece. Maybe the piece is out of alignment. Maybe the corners aren't touching. Something. Or maybe the needler isn't firing right. Maybe the tracking is completely off in one spot on, like, there's so many different little things. You can just run to somebody's desk, send them a quick email, call them on the phone over here. Hey, got this. Yeah, cool. You've got lightning fast corporate internet to function all of that. And now you've spent 18 months at home. Granted, I would hope that I would hope that they were able to take some of their workstations home with them, but you're talking about people who are now on a home residential internet, and you can't just roll to somebody's house and go, hey, fix that over here. No, that's not how a lockdown works at all. And now you've got to try and upload your build to the server and wait for that thing to go so that somebody else can then download it, play with it, fix it, or whatever, send it back and go, okay, well, these are my thoughts on it. Like, that slows the whole process down for everybody. And that's not just for 343. That is with game development as a whole. And with everything that happened, especially for those devs that are here in the States, that's wildly limiting. And I don't think people realize, or at least it seems like the vocal toxic people seem to forget that there are people who have lives, who have children, who have families, who are also now stuck at home, and they're trying to work, and they don't, like, it's a whole different environment. You're not in the same work environment that you were at before. You've got a lot on your mind, and everybody's stressed out. So I think it looks amazing. I think they've done a great job. I'm excited for the next series of flighting. I'm excited to get this game this holiday season, and to really see the new shape of Halo esports. I think it's you could say the possibilities are infinite.
I'm gonna good one.
And they haven't got an actual date yet, have they, on it?
No, I will say, just from looking at the release, if you look at the release schedule for games this coming holiday season, this fall, it's pretty thick. It's pretty thick. And from a marketing standpoint for any game, you want to make sure that when you're choosing the right date, that you're not directly competing with somebody else in the same genre, that somebody else that's going to be within that same user base. You want to try and give a little bit of a gap. You want to try and own that weekend, own that week. Make sure you've got all of your media ready to go on schedule without any hiccups or lags. When you think about the release of Halo 4, Halo 4 launched with Forward Unto Dawn, which led, and that was it was originally a YouTube series they released that became a whole movie. That was it led right into the very first moment of Halo 4. And it was a beautiful way of pushing that in. You had there were several different key media elements that were released slowly over time to kind of build that hype and let the fans pull it apart and listen to things in the background and put them together and slice them up. And it was a great buildup. Yeah. So add to production slowdowns with the fact that production is slowed down on everything.
On everything.
From TV shows to you name it. And that all is part of that balance. And so it's going to be interesting, but I think the true fans are going to stand behind and allow these visionaries to accomplish what has been part of their original vision from the beginning. And I know that I'm excited to see what they're doing, and I don't really care if it takes a couple extra weeks. We've been this long. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, well, there's a few
theories. Holiday.
Yeah, there's a few theories on. Yeah, no, there's a few. I was just gonna say on that thought, like there's a few. I know you won't be able to confirm it, but this is just discussion. But there's a few theories going around that with the way that they've been talking, that they may actually release the multiplayer first and push back the campaign to work on that one a little bit longer. That's a few little theories going around on the Twitterverse of Twitter things.
I would say this about anything like that. Until it comes out of 343's mouth, officially announced on the @Halo Twitter account or on HaloWaypoint.com, it's just rumor.
Yeah, exactly. It's rumors and opinions, of course.
I think that there's a lot of people looking to try to ask questions and to come up with content. I've watched a lot of a lot of content creators jump on every possible conspiracy theory to a point where I'm like, did you drink before you made this video? What happened? Like, what? I don't like, have you been in the sun for too long? What's going on? Because they start going down this, I would say, Fox News level of thinking that is just randomly wild questions pulled out of thin air to create content, and it starts this barrel roll of ridiculousness instead of people just saying, it's going to come out, and when it comes out, it'll come out. And if that's the way that they go and that's what they do, then that's what they do. And in the meantime, I'm going to go in and get my butt kicked consistently and regularly in the multiplayer, because I'm going to be jumping face first into Infinite, and I'll be there for months. Like, just like today,
everyone will be.
Oh yeah, no, like, and that's, we'll all get in there and we'll team up and maybe try and keep each other from getting our asses whipped once in a while. But
so last main question.
I'm good at dying in games. That's my specialty.
So one last main question to throw at you. It's one that I know Epic asked you before. So but she's asked me to throw it at you. Do you feel that, and I know this has been discussed on Twitter and everyone's got different opinions, do you feel that Halo needs a battle royale in it as part of its evolution to succeed?
I don't think any game needs anything that isn't part of the plan and the vision of the creative team at the helm. I think that the battle royale genre is pretty saturated at the moment. I get that that's where everybody's mindset is at, but Halo Esports has been pretty dominant in its consistency with arena style for a very long time. That being said, Halo has a feature in it called Forge that allows users to create a multitude of different game types and gives them the autonomy to not only make their own maps, but to choose how those maps are used, how they interact with the environment, and how those game types work, whether they are objective, whether they're FFA, whether it's in a field sport like Griffball. And I think that given how dynamic and advanced the Halo 5 Forge was compared to Halo 4's and previous versions, we're going to see something, I would imagine, that is equal, if not greater, to what we had in Halo 5. And Halo 5 Forge was on PC as well, by the way. So they were able to use that dynamic system to create an incredibly robust universe. And I don't see why that wouldn't be a possibility for those people who are truly interested in a BR to build a battle royale in there if it's not something that's already included. Either way, there's plenty of battle royales already out there. So if it's not in there, if it's not in their field of focus at the moment, it's not in their field of focus at the moment. I don't care either way. If they do it, they do it. If they don't, somebody will do it in Forge.
You
know?
Exactly.
So
one mode I hope they add to it is going back to the original Halo on PC. So I was a young 15, 16-year-old. They had the race mode. So I was a part of a racing clan called BFM, Beg for Mercy. It was quite a big clan. In theory, I'm still part of it today, but it's. Oh
yeah, the racing leagues were huge.
It was huge. We had I think we had a dozen servers. We had all the. The leader's name was Elvis. He was he's still around. Doesn't play anymore. But he was a truck driver, and he just wanted to create this family-friendly environment where young kids could come, and their parents knew that they had a safe place to play. Like. So back then, before I think Discord was around, we had a Ventrilo that used to be used. So to give you an idea of how strict things were, like when you were in vent racing with other people, you couldn't even say like "damn," like it was that kind of like strict. It was that family. He wanted, I want them parents to know that their kids can play in this safe place. And we had over 150 admins. It was such a great space, and we used to do regular scrims, and there's been nothing like that ever since. And all us because I still connected with some of them guys, and we always say I really hope they actually bring a mode like that back, because we'd jump all over that. It was such good fun.
Well, that's the thing. That was a user created environment, and the racing leagues like that still it still exists. You can still make racing maps on any of the games that are Forge capable. So especially with Master Chief Collection available now on your Xbox and your Windows 10 device included, with Xbox Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate for Windows 10.
But the Forge you can't. But
Plugs.
the Forge you can't have private servers though, can you? Because we obviously had private servers. And that's what which enabled the public to join our.
Well,
private
but you can
servers.
create private parties. That's the thing. So it's the way that I believe what you're thinking of is that the old club system was part of the Xbox Live feature. Now that's a different story.
No, this
but
was on PC, so this has gone old school. So they used to use what was the server? Was it GameSpy or something? It was whatever they used on for public servers back then. We're talking the OG Halo on PC. So you just go rent, say 10 servers of a provider, set up all your files, all that kind of stuff, and you'd have your.
I think you're thinking of CE, Halo Combat Evolved, the original Combat Evolved.
Yeah, the original Combat Evolved. That's correct.
Okay,
That
that's
had a
the
race
whole.
mode.
That was long before Xbox Live was even really
We're going
properly. Yeah, it was. Yeah, so that was a separate. That's a separate group.
Oh, there you
So,
go. I didn't even know that.
But yeah, so I don't know. I think that's a great piece of feedback and suggestion. To provide to 343, if that's something that enough people really want to do, is that those types of private servers for that kind of stuff in a Minecraft-esque kind of way, then yeah, I mean, if there's a draw for it, they are extraordinarily unique in their consistency with listening to the needs of the community. So I would definitely recommend putting that piece of feedback in.
I'll be the first one to be renting some servers and racing. I used to love that mode. I used to play it for hours. Such good fun.
I remember us making race maps in Forge Island on 4, and we would do Warthog racing and
fastest lap times and blood gulch, stuff like that. I'm trying to avoid all the rockets and stuff like that.
Yep. Well, and then they turned.
I was saying in for probably our first episode, I used to remember at school, we'd all go like the computer class or something. We'd all go up to the back row, and whoever was in like the back 2 rows would all line up Combat Involved, had the biggest LAN party in class. It was awesome.
Yep. I remember. I remember the getting the CRT televisions because back before we had flat screens with these big giant tube televisions, then trying to not take. Don't screen peek at me. So of course we'd take in pizza boxes, we'd order pizza, cut the tops off, and then put them in a cross on the TV for split screen runs, and so that and then just get right next to the TV and play in our little square, So
No.
Actually, what they did for a time, it didn't last very long, but it was when Maslow, remember when we first got married, they had the 3D type tellies. So what they did to fix that was like for you used to go into split screen, and you I'm going to use Whippy. So I'd put a set of glasses on, and I would only see my stuff, and then Whippy would wear a set of glasses, and he'd only see his stuff, and you couldn't screen share unless you kind of like put the glasses down a little bit, but then you'd see all these weird pixelated stuff.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It was one of our first TVs. We were married like 9 years ago. I don't think it lasted very long. I haven't seen many of them around, but oh, your favorite Halo? Have you got a favorite?
Mine?
Yeah, have you got a favorite?
Honestly, I would no, because I love each of them for a different reason.
No.
I don't I really don't have a favorite per se. I think the one I played the most of would be 4 and 5, mostly 4 because that's what I competed in. That's where I started competing in Griffball and Shoutcast, and Griffball was in Halo 4. So, yeah, 4 is the one I probably have the most time in. But each one has its own unique thing when you think about it. Reach made everybody cry because it was devastating at the end. ODST has one of the best soundtracks ever. Incredible, especially when it's raining. Turn that on. It's ironic because we were at Outpost Discovery in Orlando. I don't know if you guys know much about Orlando, but in Florida during the summer it rains every day at the same time for the same amount of time, because as you get that change in pressure, because you're on a peninsula, the rain just comes in, and we're not talking it sprinkles. We're talking torrential, damn near monsoon level, just you can't see across the street. It's raining so hard. You might as well have just gotten out of the shower, put your clothes on, and walked, while wet, because you'd be in the same shape as if you had dried off, put your clothes on, and ran from the hotel to the convention center. It was crazy. So when it came on. It was funny because as we're setting up, we've got the sound. They were putting on some of the soundtracks, and we on the main stage. Our producer Milton put on the Halo 3 ODST soundtrack, and we all just everybody stopped. All the Halo people stopped walking, and we're like, "Oh wow, okay, that's cool, that's awesome." But yeah, we all played CE and then 2, and then waited forever for 3 because we didn't know what was happening, and then 3 comes out, and then you got the whole story, the continuation with 4 ages later. It's 5 introduced a whole different dynamic and really getting to look at the classic Spartans versus the new Spartans, and a brand new dynamic, I would say, visual system. And it was really, really detailed in a whole new way. So each one brought its own unique experience to it that for me in my head stands out as to, I think, why I'm so passionate about the Halo franchise and as a fan.
It's going to be an exciting end of the year when that comes out, and I think we're going to have some very happy Halo fans. So,
absolutely.
I know it's getting, I would say late, but it's probably early now for you. So we'll probably look at wrapping up for our listeners. So, the important question for those that want to check out, I don't know if you've even mentioned this, but for those listening or that, DJ actually does some fantastic DJ sets. Part of his lifestyle. I don't know if you mentioned that. Apart from all the other stuff he does, which is ridiculous, he DJs. So where can people find your content, sir?
Well, it's interesting because I just got locked in for Saturdays with Logitech and Astro again for another year. So we are. You can find the Astro. Thank you. The Astro Weekend Dance Party happens every Saturday night except this weekend because my friend from the Navy is coming into town, of course. But you can find it live here on twitch.tv/DJBluepdx, starting at 7 p.m., usually right around 7 p.m. Pacific, and that is GMT -8. I haven't the faintest idea what that would be. It's kind of, I don't know, somewhere in the midday.
If you're listening, use a time converter.
Yeah, there you go.
I used to remember when you were doing your Saturday sets, I think it was like 10 or 11 a.m. or something for us.
Yeah.
That was Australian Eastern, but that was a little while ago. So
I do. And then Sundays we do the Downtempo Lounge. And that's our beach house acoustics, and just, it's a chill out. It's my emotional moment. I play what I want to play the way I want to play it. Sometimes it's all ballads. Sometimes it's like my own little radio show.
Well, DJ, thank you very much for spending some time with us. We really do appreciate you coming on at 2 o'clock in the morning. For our listeners, I know this is a bit of a longer one, but our first guest, we want to spend some quality time with him. And I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed our first guest on the podcast. We will definitely look at getting some more on. So for our listeners on the podcast, that is going to wrap us up there. We hope you have thoroughly enjoyed the show. And we will catch you all next episode for episode 4. We will catch you all later for those listening on the podcast.
No. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.